The alarm bells rang through Luna Station at 3 in the morning. Kim Hyun-woo rolled out of his bed and grabbed his uniform. As the night duty officer for alien relations, he was used to strange calls. But this one felt different. "Sir, we have an unregistered ship approaching," said Officer Park So-young over the comm. "It's not responding to our signals." Hyun-woo ran to the control room. On the main screen, he could see a small ship drifting toward them. The vessel looked damaged. Burn marks covered its hull and one engine was completely dark. "Any life signs?" Hyun-woo asked. "Two, sir. Both weak." Hyun-woo studied the ship. It was not like anything in their database. The design was strange, with curved lines and materials he did not recognize. "Open a channel." Static filled the room. Then a voice came through, speaking broken human language. "Please help us, we are dying." The voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. But underneath the alien sounds, Hyun-woo heard something that made his chest tight. Fear, real desperate fear. "This is Luna Station. We can help you. Do you need medical assistance?" "Yes." "The small one. She needs help first. Please." Hyun-woo looked at his team. "Protocol said they should wait for backup. Unknown aliens could be dangerous." But the voice on the radio sounded like it was running out of time. "Bring them to Docking Bay 3, Hyun-woo said. "Medical team, get ready." 20 minutes later, the damaged ship landed with a hard thump. Hyun-woo waited with 6 security officers and Dr. Park So-young. The medical team had their equipment ready. The ship's door opened with a loud hiss. Steam poured out. Then Hyun-woo saw them. The first being was huge. It stood nearly 3 meters tall and looked like a giant lizard that walked on 2 legs. Its scales were dark green with gold edges. Large wings hung from its back, but they looked broken. The creature wore simple clothes that had once been fine, but were now torn and dirty. Blood leaked from several wounds on its body. In the giant's arms was something much smaller. At first, Hyun-woo thought it was a human child. Then he saw the fur and the large ears. The small being looked like a cat that had learned to walk like a person. It was tiny, maybe the size of a 6-year-old human child. Its fur was white and silver. But there were strange dark patches that looked like old scars. The large being took 3 steps forward and fell to one knee. "Please," it said in that grinding voice. "Help her. I can wait." Dr. Park stepped forward carefully. "Let us help both of you." "I am called Drakor," the large being said. "This is Nabi. We come seeking safety. We have nowhere else to go." Hyun-woo felt something cold in his stomach as he looked at them. The big one called Drakor was trying to stay strong, but Hyun-woo could see the pain in his yellow eyes. The small one, Nabi, had not made a sound. She just stared at nothing with eyes that looked too old for her small face. "You are safe here," Hyun-woo said. "We will help you both." The medical team moved in with stretchers. Drakor let them take Nabi first, but he would not let go of her small hand. Even when they put him on his own stretcher, his long arm reached across to stay connected to the child. In the medical bay, Dr. Park worked on both aliens. Hyun-woo watched from the observation window. What he saw made him feel sick. Both aliens had scars all over their bodies, but these were not battle scars. They were too neat, too careful. Someone had cut them with medical tools. Drakor's wings had been broken in several places and healed badly. He would never fly again. The small patches of dark skin on Nabi were not natural markings. They were places where something had been cut away. "What happened to them?" Hyun-woo asked Dr. Park during a break. "Someone tortured them," Dr. Park said quietly. "But not for information. Look at these scars. They were made to cause specific types of pain. This was done by someone who knew exactly what they were doing." Hyun-woo felt angry. "Who would do this to a child?" "I don't know. But whoever it was, they kept these two alive for a long time. These scars are from different time. Periods. Some are years old." After 6 hours, Dr. Park finished her work. Both aliens were stable but very weak. Dracor woke up first. He immediately looked around for Nabi. "She is safe," Hyunwoo said, pulling a chair next to Dracor's bed. "She is sleeping in the next room." Dracor relaxed a little. "Thank you. Your people are kind. Can you tell me what happened to you?" Dracor was quiet for a long time. His yellow eyes stared at the ceiling. "We ran. We ran for so long. Our ship was almost dead when we found your station." "Who were you running from?" "The consortium." Dracor said the word like it tasted bad. "They said they wanted to help us. They lied." Hyunwoo leaned forward. "What is the consortium?" "Many. Different alien races working together. They find species like mine and Nabi's people. They say they want to study us, to make us part of their civilization." Dracor's hands made fists. "But they do not study. They hurt. They take parts of us. They break us and collect what comes out. That's horrible." "Why?" "Because pain makes our bodies create things they want. Special chemicals, rare materials. My people's fear creates a substance they use in their technology. Nabi's people glow with emotion. When you hurt them, their light can be collected and used for medicine." Hyunwoo felt his stomach turn. "You mean they hurt you to harvest biological materials?" "Yes. For years. Nabi was born in their facility. She has never seen her real home. Her parents died there when she was very small." Through the window, Hyunwoo could see the small cat-like child sleeping. She looked so peaceful now, but he knew she carried memories no child should have. "How did you escape?" "During a transport between facilities. Their ship had problems. In the confusion, I broke free and found Nabi. We stole an escape pod." Dracor looked at his broken wings. "I was a warrior once, a leader of my people. Now, I can barely protect one small child. You saved her. You brought her to safety." "Did I? Are we truly safe here, or will your people give us back to the consortium when they come asking?" Hyunwoo stood up. He thought about protocols and procedures. He thought about the political problems this might cause. Then he looked at Nabi sleeping in the next room and made his choice. "You are under human protection now. No one will take you back to that place." Dracor's eyes widened. "You would risk trouble with the consortium for two strangers?" "Yes," Hyunwoo said, "because it is the right thing to do." For the first time since arriving, Dracor smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was real. Perhaps we found the right people after all. As Hyunwoo left the medical bay, he knew this was just the beginning. These two refugees carried a story that could change everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. But first, he had to keep them safe and help them heal. Outside the window, stars shined in the darkness. Somewhere among them, the consortium was still hunting. But here on Luna Station, two broken souls had found something they thought no longer existed in the galaxy. They had found mercy. 3 days had passed since Dracor and Nabi arrived at Luna Station. The big alien was getting stronger, but he still refused to sleep unless he could see Nabi in the next bed. The small child had not spoken a single word since arriving. Hyunwoo sat in the medical bay with Dracor every evening. He brought tea and simple food. Slowly, the dragon-like being was starting to trust him. Tonight felt different. Dracor seemed ready to talk. "You want to know about my people," Dracor said. It was not a question. "Only if you want to tell me," Hyunwoo replied. Dracor looked out the window at the stars. "My people were called the Keltharans. We ruled 17 star systems, not through conquest but through strength and honor." "Ruled how?" "Other species would challenge us to prove themselves. If they could defeat our warriors in fair combat, they earned the right to join us as equals. If not, we protected them from those who would harm them." Dracor's eyes grew distant. "We believed strength should serve justice, not greed." Hyunwoo poured more tea. That sounds noble. We thought so too. For 3,000 years, this system worked. We had peace. We had prosperity. Then the consortium found us. Dracor was quiet for a long moment. His large hands shook slightly as he picked up his teacup. They came as diplomats, he continued. Representatives from dozens of advanced species. They said they had heard of our warrior culture and wanted to learn from us. They spoke of honor and strength. They asked if our greatest warriors would accept challenges from their champions. And you said yes. Of course we did. It was our way. I was Flame General then, the highest military rank below the Royal Council. I was chosen to fight their first champion. Dracor stood up and walked to the window. Even with his broken wings and healing wounds, he still moved like a soldier. The fight was held on their ship. They said it was traditional for their people to witness challenges in a special arena. I should have been suspicious when they asked me to remove all my weapons and armor. They said their champion would do the same. What happened? The arena was not for fighting. It was for harvesting. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. They planned it from the beginning. Yes. The moment I entered their arena, restraints locked around my arms and legs. The champion was not a warrior. It was a scientist, with cutting tools. Dracor's voice became very quiet. They had studied our people. They knew that when we feel great pain or fear, our bodies produce a chemical that makes our scales harder than any known metal. But only when we truly suffer. So they tortured you to collect this chemical. For hours. They explained everything, while they worked. How many of my people they had already taken. How they planned to harvest our entire species. They said it was for the greater good of galactic civilization. Hyunwoo stood up and put his hand on Dracor's shoulder. The alien's scales were warm and rough like old leather. They broke my wings first, Dracor continued. Wings are very important to Keltharans. They represent freedom and honor. When mine snapped, I felt something inside me break too. That was when my body produced the most valuable material. How did you survive? They kept me alive for 2 years. Every few days, they would hurt me in new ways. They had learned exactly how much pain each part of my body could take before permanent damage. They were very careful. Dead subjects produce nothing. Dracor turned away from the window and sat back down. His yellow eyes looked hollow. The worst part was not the pain. It was the knowledge. They told me about other species they had harvested. Entire civilizations reduced to biological farms. They showed me recordings of my own people being processed. My friends, my family. Did they take your whole species? Not at first. They were smart. They took warriors slowly, claiming we had died in honorable combat. Our people mourned us as heroes while the consortium harvested us like crops. By the time anyone realized the truth, half our population was gone. Hyunwoo felt sick. What? About the rest? Some fought back when they learned the truth. The consortium crushed them easily. They had weapons and technology stolen from dozens of harvested species. My people's courage meant nothing against that kind of power. But some escaped? A few. Maybe 100 out of millions. We scattered across the galaxy trying to find somewhere safe. Most were caught eventually. The consortium has agents everywhere. They pay other species to report refugee sightings. Dracor looked over at Nabi, who was sleeping in her bed. Even in sleep, the small child held herself tightly, as if expecting pain. I found Nabi during one of their transport operations. They were moving several captured species to a new facility. I had been tracking consortium ships for months, looking for a chance to strike back. When their transport had mechanical problems, I attacked. You saved her. I tried to save them all. There were dozens of prisoners from many different species, but I was alone and weak. I could only break a few cages before security arrived. Most of the prisoners were recaptured. Dracor's voice became very soft. I had to choose. Save myself and maybe one other, or die trying to save everyone. You Made the right choice. Did I? Every night I hear the voices of those I left behind. They called out to me as I ran. They begged me not to leave them. Hyunwoo sat down again. If you had stayed, they would still be prisoners, and Nabi would be alone, perhaps. Or perhaps a real warrior would have found a way to save them all. You are a real warrior. You survived 2 years of torture and still had the strength to save someone else. That is true courage. Dracor looked at him with surprise. Your people see it that way? Yes. We believe that protecting the innocent is the highest form of strength, even when it costs everything? Especially then. For the first time since beginning his story, Dracor smiled. The consortium thinks all species are like them. They believe everyone will sacrifice others to save themselves. They do not understand people like you, people like us, people who choose to do right even when it is dangerous. Hyunwoo stood up. Dracor, I need to ask you something important. You said the consortium has agents everywhere. Do they know about humanity? Oh, yes. They have been watching your people for decades. They consider you useful as frontier guards, but too primitive for full membership in their civilization. What does that mean? It means they see you as tools, not equals. When you are no longer useful, they will find excuses to harvest your species too. Hyunwoo felt cold. How long do we have? Years, maybe decades. They are patient. They prefer to let species develop naturally before harvest. Stressed populations produce lower quality materials. So we are being raised like livestock. All species are until they prove too dangerous to control. The consortium only respects strength they cannot overcome. Hyunwoo thought about this. What would it take to be too dangerous? Dracor studied him carefully. Why do you ask? Because I am starting to think that staying safe might not be worth the cost. That is a dangerous thought, Hyunwoo of the humans. Maybe. But watching what they did to you and Nabi, I think some things are worth being dangerous for. Dracor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. If your people truly think that way, then perhaps there is hope for the galaxy after all. Outside the medical bay, stars continued their ancient dance across the darkness. But inside the small room, something new was growing. Not just friendship between two very different beings, but the first seeds of a revolution that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Neither of them knew it yet, but this conversation would be remembered as the moment when humanity learned they were not joining a civilized galaxy, but a vast prison. And like all prisoners who discover the truth about their situation, they would soon have to choose between comfortable captivity and dangerous freedom. Nabi spoke for the first time on the 7th day. Dr. Park So-young was checking the small alien's wounds when Nabi suddenly grabbed her hand. The doctor froze as the child's large eyes stared up at her. Mama had light in her hands, Nabi whispered. They took it away. So-young called Hyunwoo immediately. When he arrived at the medical bay, Nabi was sitting up in bed, still holding the doctor's hand. Dracor sat beside her, his face full of worry and hope. She started talking a few minutes ago, So-young said quietly. Just small things about her parents. Hyunwoo pulled a chair close to Nabi's bed. Hello, Nabi. My name is Hyunwoo. Can you tell me about your mama's light? Nabi looked at him with those two old eyes. Mama could make colors with her feelings. When she was happy, her hands glowed yellow like sunshine. When she was sad, they turned blue like deep water. That sounds beautiful. It was. Mama said our people used light to talk to each other, not with words, but with colors and patterns. She said our whole world would sing with light at night. Nabi's small hand moved to touch the dark patches on her arms where fur would not grow. The bad people cut away my light places. They said I was too young to make good light, so they would wait until I grew bigger. Hyunwoo felt anger burn in his chest. What happened to your mama and papa? They lived in the cage next to mine. Every day the bad people would come and hurt them to make their light come out. Then they would collect the light in special bottles. Nabi's voice became very small. At first, Mama's light was bright and strong. Even when they hurt her, she would make beautiful colors for me to see. But after many days, her light got weaker. The colors became gray and dim. "Where are your parents now, little one?" Dracor asked gently. "They stopped making light. When Luminari cannot make light anymore, they get very sick and die. The bad people said Mama and Papa were used up, so they threw them away." So Young wiped tears from her eyes. Hyunwoo had to take deep breaths to stay calm. "I was born in the bad place," Nabi continued. "I never saw the crystal forest Mama told me about. I never heard the light songs of our people. I only know the gray walls and the smell of fear." "How many of your people were there?" Hyunwoo asked. "Many at first. The bad people said they found our whole world and brought everyone to their facilities. But as I grew older, I saw fewer and fewer Luminari. Most got used up like Mama and Papa." "Are there others still alive?" Nabi shook her head. "I was the last one. The bad people were waiting for me to grow big enough to make good light. They said I had special genetics that would make very bright colors when I was older." Hyunwoo felt sick. They had kept this child alive to use her as breeding stock for future victims. "Then Uncle Dracor came," Nabi said, looking at the big alien with love. "He broke open many cages and told everyone to run, but most were too weak or too scared. I was small enough to hide in Uncle Dracor's arms when the guards came." "Why do you call him Uncle?" So Young asked. "Because he promised to take care of me like family. He said, even though we are different species, we could still love each other. He taught me that family is not just about blood, but about choosing to protect someone." Dracor's yellow eyes were wet with tears. "She is braver than any warrior I have known." "No," Nabi said seriously. "Uncle Dracor is the brave one. He was hurt much worse than me, but he still saved me. Even when his wings were broken and he could barely walk, he carried me to safety." "What do you remember about your world?" Hyunwoo asked. "The stories your parents told you?" Nabi's eyes lit up a little. "Mama said our world had forests made of crystal trees that would sing when the wind blew through them. At night, all the Luminari would come out and share their light with each other. The whole forest would glow with every color you could imagine. She said our people never fought wars because we could feel each other's emotions through our light. If someone was sad or angry, the whole community would know and try to help. We lived in harmony because we truly understood each other." "That sounds like a wonderful way to live," So Young said. "Mama said, that is why the bad people wanted us. Our ability to share emotions made our light very special. When they hurt us, our light would carry not just our pain, but the memory of all the happiness we had lost." Nabi touched her dark scars again. "The bad people said my light would be the strongest because I carry the genetic memory of my whole species. They were going to wait until I was grown up, then use me to make children who would have even better light. But that will never happen," Dracor said firmly. "You are free now." "Am I really free, Uncle Dracor? Or are the bad people still looking for us?" Dracor looked at Hyunwoo. "They are always looking. The consortium does not like to lose valuable property." "Then I need to learn to fight," Nabi said with surprising determination. "I cannot just hide behind you forever." "You are just a child," So Young protested. "I stopped being a child the day I watched my parents die," Nabi replied. "The bad people made sure of that." Hyunwoo knelt down beside her bed. "Nabi, what if I told you that you might not have to fight? What if there was a way to make sure the bad people could never hurt anyone again?" "Is that possible?" "I don't know yet. But my people are talking about it. We are trying to decide if we should fight back against the consortium." Nabi grabbed his hand with both of her small paws. "Please, not just for me, but for all the others who are still trapped. Every day we wait, More people like my parents are dying in those places. It would be very dangerous. We might not win. Uncle Dracor told me that your people believe protecting others is worth any risk. Is that true? Hyunwoo looked into her large, ancient eyes and saw not a child, but a survivor carrying the hopes of an extinct species. Yes, little one, that is true. Then you already know what you have to do. That evening, Hyunwoo sent a priority message to Earth Command. In it, he included recordings of everything Dracor and Nabi had told them. He also included his own recommendation. Humanity could not stand by and allow the consortium's activities to continue. But more than the evidence or the strategic implications, the message contained something that would prove more powerful than any weapon. It contained the hope in a small child's voice as she dreamed of crystal forests she had never seen, and the determination of a species that would rather die fighting than live in comfortable ignorance. The die was cast. Humanity would soon have to choose between safety and justice. And in a small medical bay on Luna Station, a broken warrior and a lightless child waited to see what kind of people their saviors really were. 2 weeks after Hyunwoo's message reached Earth, Admiral Lee Jae-sung arrived at Luna Station. He came with a small fleet and orders that were sealed until his arrival. Hyunwoo had never seen an Earth admiral look so troubled. "Show me the refugees," Admiral Lee said without any greeting. Hyunwoo led him to the medical bay where Dracor was teaching Nabi how to read human letters. The small alien was sitting on the big warrior's lap, carefully tracing symbols on a tablet. They looked like a strange but loving family. Admiral Lee watched them for several minutes without speaking. Finally, he turned to Hyunwoo. "Are you certain their stories are true?" "Yes, sir. Dr. Park confirmed their medical evidence. The torture scars are real and match their accounts perfectly." "And you believe this consortium is a real threat to humanity?" "I believe we are already marked for future harvesting. We just do not know it yet." Admiral Lee nodded slowly. "Your message caused quite a stir on Earth. The President called an emergency session with the Global Defense Council. We spent 3 days arguing about what to do. What was decided? Come with me. I have something to show you." Admiral Lee led Hyunwoo to his ship. In the main briefing room, a large holographic display showed star maps with hundreds of red dots scattered across dozens of systems. "This is what we found when we started investigating," Admiral Lee said. "Each red dot is a confirmed or suspected consortium facility. Our intelligence services have been busy since receiving your report." Hyunwoo stared at the display. There were so many dots. "How many prisoners do you estimate?" "Millions. Maybe tens of millions. And those are just the ones we can identify." "What? About Earth? Are we really being watched?" Admiral Lee touched a control and the display zoomed in on the Sol system. Several yellow markers appeared around Earth and Mars. These are known consortium observation posts. They have been monitoring our development for at least 50 years. 50 years? Why did no one notice? Because they were careful. They posed as independent traders and researchers. We thought they were just curious aliens interested in human culture. We had no idea they were studying us for future exploitation. Hyunwoo felt cold. "What else did you learn?" "The consortium has been steering our development. Remember those warnings we received about certain star systems being dangerous? Those were lies to keep us away from their harvesting operations." Admiral Lee brought up another display showing trade routes and diplomatic contacts. "Look at this. Every major trade partner we have has connections to the consortium. They have been controlling our expansion, making sure we only develop in directions that serve their interests. So we are not really independent? No. We are cattle being carefully managed until we are ready for slaughter." Hyunwoo sat down heavily. "What is Earth's decision?" Admiral Lee was quiet for a long moment. The vote was not unanimous. Many people wanted to pretend we never learned the truth. They argued that humanity is not strong enough to fight the entire galactic civilization. But that is not what was decided, no. President Kim Ji-won gave a speech that changed everything. She said that if this is what galactic civilization looks like, then humanity chooses to remain barbarians. Despite everything, Hyun-woo smiled. I would like to have heard that speech. You can. It is being broadcast to every human colony and ship in space. Admiral Lee activated another display. President Kim's face appeared, speaking with quiet determination. My fellow humans, the president said, we have learned that the galaxy we hope to join is built on the systematic torture and extinction of innocent species. We have been invited to be comfortable participants in this horror. We decline. The recording continued. Some will say we are too small and weak to make a difference. They are probably right. But being weak is not the same as being wrong. History will remember whether we chose to be safe or chose to be good. Admiral Lee turned off the recording. The full resources of human space are being committed to this effort. We are going to war with the consortium. What about the other species, the ones that are not prisoners but willing participants in the consortium? They will be our enemies. Most of the species we considered friends or allies are complicit in these crimes. They value comfort and prosperity more than justice. Hyun-woo thought about all the diplomatic contacts he had made over the years, species that had seemed kind and civilized. All of them? Not all. Our intelligence suggests there are other species like us who have been kept ignorant of the truth. Some have refused to participate when they learned what the consortium really does. But they are scattered and powerless. What is our plan? Admiral Lee smiled grimly. We are going to give the galaxy something it has not seen in centuries. A species willing to fight for strangers. The first phase is already beginning. Special Forces teams are hitting consortium facilities in remote systems. Not to destroy them, but to document everything and rescue survivors. Like a fact-finding mission? Exactly. The consortium's power comes from secrecy. Most species do not know what really happens in those facilities. We are going to show them. Admiral Lee brought up images that made Hyun-woo sick to his stomach. Alien beings in cages, their bodies marked with surgical scars, children separated from parents, entire families reduced to biological resources. These images are being broadcast across every known communication network. The consortium cannot hide their crimes anymore. How are other species reacting? Mixed responses. Some are denying the evidence or claiming it is human propaganda. Others are demanding investigations. A few have already begun withdrawing from consortium partnerships and the consortium itself. They are calling us terrorists and criminals. They say we are disrupting galactic peace and stability. They have put a bounty on every human ship and colony. Hyun-woo felt the weight of what they were facing. Admiral, can we really win this fight? Win? Probably not in any traditional sense. The consortium has thousands of years of accumulated technology and resources. In a direct military conflict, they would crush us. Then why are we doing this? Admiral Lee looked back toward the medical bay where Drakor and Nabi were still learning to read together. Because sometimes winning is not about defeating your enemy. Sometimes winning is about changing the rules of the game entirely. What do you mean? For centuries, the galaxy has operated on the principle that might makes right. Stronger species exploit weaker ones, and everyone accepts this as natural law. We are going to prove that principle wrong. How? By showing every oppressed species in the galaxy that resistance is possible. By demonstrating that some things are worth fighting, for even when you cannot win. By refusing to accept that this is just how the universe works. Admiral Lee stood up. The consortium believes that all species are ultimately selfish. They think that when faced with extinction, everyone will choose survival over principles. We are going to prove them wrong. Even if it costs us everything? Especially then. Because if we can inspire even one other species to join us, Then 2 becomes 4, and 4 becomes 8. Eventually, the oppressed will outnumber the oppressors. Hyun-woo thought about Nabi's words. Every day we wait, more people are dying in those places. When do we begin? We already have. The first rescue missions launched yesterday. By the end of this month, every human knows the truth about the galaxy we live in. By the end of the year, every species will have to choose which side of history they want to be on. Admiral Lee headed toward the door, then stopped. Hyun-woo, I have one more thing to tell you. You are being reassigned. Sir? You and your team are being put in charge of refugee operations. Every being we rescue from consortium facilities will come through Luna Station first. You will be responsible for their care and integration into human society. That is a big responsibility? Yes, it is. But you already proved you can handle it. Admiral Lee looked back toward the medical bay. Those 2 aliens trust you completely. That is exactly what we need right now. People who can build bridges between species. After the Admiral left, Hyun-woo returned to the medical bay. Nabi looked up from her tablet and smiled. The man with the fancy uniform looked very serious, she said. Is everything okay? Hyun-woo sat down beside her and Dracor. Everything is going to change, little one. My people have decided to fight the bad people who hurt you. Dracor's eyes widened. That is a dangerous choice. Yes, it is. But it is the right choice. Nabi put her small paw on Hyun-woo's hand. Thank you for choosing to help people like me and Uncle Dracor. Thank you for giving us a reason to be brave. Outside the station, human warships were already moving toward their first targets. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had a different definition of civilization than anyone expected, and in a small medical bay, 3 very different beings sat together, representing the first alliance in what would become the most important war in galactic history. 6 months after Admiral Lee's visit, Commander Yoon Sang-hee stood on the bridge of the human warship Defiant as it approached the Kepler system. This was humanity's first major strike against a consortium harvesting facility, and she had been chosen to lead it. Commander, we are detecting massive energy signatures from the planet, reported Lieutenant Choi Min-ho from the sensor station. Much larger than expected for a research facility. What kind of energy signatures? Multiple fusion reactors, industrial processing equipment, and what looks like atmospheric processors. This is not a small operation. Sang-hee studied the tactical display. Intelligence reports had suggested a medium-sized facility with maybe a few hundred prisoners. The energy readings indicated something much larger. Send a message to the fleet. We may need additional support ships. Already done, Commander. Admiral Lee is dispatching 3 more rescue vessels. As they approached the planet, the true scope of the consortium facility became clear. It was not a research station, it was an entire industrial complex covering thousands of square kilometers. Massive ships moved between orbital platforms and the surface, carrying cargo that Sang-hee did not want to think about too carefully. My God, whispered the communications officer. How many prisoners could they have down there? We will find out. All ships, prepare for combat insertion. Remember, our priority is rescuing survivors, not destroying infrastructure. The human fleet moved in fast and hard. Consortium security forces were caught completely off guard. They had never faced an attack on one of their facilities before. Who would be crazy enough to assault the galactic government? Humans, apparently. Sang-hee led the first assault team to the surface. What she found there would stay with her for the rest of her life. The facility was laid out like a factory farm. Thousands of individual cells housed beings from dozens of different species. Automated systems moved between them, delivering food, collecting biological materials, and performing medical procedures without any supervision from actual doctors. Commander, you need to see this, called Sergeant Park Dal-soo from across the detention area. Sang-hee followed him to a large viewing window that looked into what appeared to be a nursery. Hundreds of young aliens of various species were kept in small enclosures. They ranged in age from infants to adolescents. They are raising the next generation, Dalsu said quietly, born in captivity, never knowing any life but this. Get them out. All of them. Ma'am, we do not have enough transport ships for this many prisoners. Sang-hee looked around the vast complex. Early estimates suggested over 10,000 prisoners, of various species. Her small rescue fleet could handle maybe 500. Then we make multiple trips. No one gets left behind. The liberation of the Kepler facility took 3 weeks. Human ships made dozens of runs carrying refugees to safety, while consortium forces regrouped and prepared counterattacks. Other human fleets struck similar facilities across the galaxy, creating chaos in the consortium's carefully managed system. But the most important part of the operation was not military. It was what Commander Sang-hee's teams found in the facilities: data archives. Commander, you need to hear this, Lieutenant Choi said from the facility's control center. I have been going through their records. This place has been operating for over 800 years. 800 years of this? Yes, ma'am. And there are records of contact with 847 different species over that time period. Most of those species are now listed as extinct. Sang-hee felt sick. They genocided 847 species? Not directly. They harvested them until their populations became unsustainable. Then they just let them die out naturally while moving on to new targets. What about current operations? They currently have active harvesting programs for 23 different species, including one that was just discovered last year. Lieutenant Choi brought up a holographic display showing a peaceful world with small villages and primitive technology. The consortium made first contact with these people 6 months ago. They are scheduled for harvest beginning next year. Not. Anymore they are not. Send the coordinates to Admiral Lee immediately. We need to warn them. But even as they rescued thousands of prisoners and gathered evidence of countless crimes, Sang-hee knew they were fighting a losing battle. For every facility they hit, the consortium had dozens more. For every species they saved, 10 others were still trapped in the system. The real war was not being fought with weapons. It was being fought with information. Every rescued prisoner was interviewed. Their stories were recorded and broadcast across the galaxy. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The consortium was not a peaceful galactic government, but a vast criminal enterprise built on torture and genocide. The response from other species was exactly what Admiral Lee had predicted. Some denied everything. Some claimed the evidence was fabricated. But others began to ask uncomfortable questions. On Altair Prime, the Democratic Assembly voted to suspend all trade with known consortium partners. On Beta Centauri, student protests demanded their government investigate the allegations. On dozens of worlds, species that had been kept ignorant of the truth began demanding answers. The consortium's response was swift and predictable. They declared humanity a terrorist organization and placed bounties on all human ships and colonies. They began preparing massive military fleets to crush the human rebellion before it could spread. But they made one critical mistake. They assumed that humans were acting alone. 3 months after the Kepler raid, Sang-hee was preparing for another rescue mission when an unexpected message reached the human fleet. Human vessels, this is Captain Throck of the Altarian Republic. We have 40 ships ready to assist in your next operation. Sang-hee could hardly believe what she was hearing. Captain Throck, are you saying your people want to join our fight against the consortium? We are saying we refuse to be complicit in genocide any longer. My government voted to officially withdraw from all consortium partnerships. We have been gathering intelligence on facilities in our territory, and we are ready to act. Within days, other messages began arriving. The free worlds of Vega, the Independent Systems Alliance, the Outer Rim Coalition, species that had been scattered and powerless, suddenly found unity in opposition to the consortium. Not all of them were motivated by pure altruism. Some joined because they feared they would be next on the consortium's harvest list. Others saw an opportunity to break free from economic domination by the core worlds. But their reasons did not matter as much as their actions. The galaxy was choosing sides. Commander Sang-He found herself promoted to admiral and given command of the growing rebel fleet. What had started as a desperate human rescue mission was becoming the largest military alliance in recorded galactic history. But the cost was enormous. Earth itself was under siege. Consortium fleets had blockaded the human homeworld, cutting off supplies and threatening orbital bombardment if the rebellion did not surrender. "Admiral, we are receiving a message from Earth Command," reported her communications officer during a strategy meeting with Allied commanders. "Put it through." President Kim Ji-won appeared on the main screen. She looked tired and older than when this all began, but her voice was still strong. "To all human forces and our brave allies," she said, "I want you to know that Earth stands with you completely. We would rather face extinction with honor than live with comfortable shame. Continue the fight. Free every prisoner you can find. Show the galaxy what justice looks like." The transmission ended with an image that would become the symbol of the rebellion. A human child and an alien child holding hands under the light of foreign stars, with text in dozens of languages saying simply, "Never again." Admiral Sang-He looked around at the bridge crew that had become her family over these long months. Humans working alongside rescued aliens and volunteers from free worlds, all united by a simple belief that some things were worth fighting for. All ships, prepare for the next phase of operations. We have a galaxy to liberate. Outside the viewports, hundreds of ships from dozens of species moved in formation toward their next target. The consortium had created this war by believing that power made right. They were about to learn that sometimes being right made power. 5 years had passed since Drakor and Nabi first arrived at Luna Station. Hyun-woo stood in the crystal gardens of New Luminar, watching something that should have been impossible. Nabi, now a teenager, was teaching a group of young aliens how to paint with living light. Her bioluminescent patches had grown back, not through any medical treatment, but through pure joy. As she worked with paints that glowed and shifted color, her natural markings pulsed in harmony with her emotions. Yellow for happiness, blue for calm concentration, gold for love. "Uncle Hyun-woo, come see what I made," Nabi called out. Hyun-woo walked over to her easel. The painting showed a forest of crystal trees under a star-filled sky. But this was not just any forest. Small figures of many different species danced among the trees, their bodies glowing with shared light. Humans and Keltharans, Altarians and vegans, and dozens of others he could not identify. "It is beautiful, little one." "What does it represent?" "It is the dream my mama told me about, but better." In her stories, only Luminari lived in the crystal forests. In my dream, everyone is welcome. Around them, the refugee settlement that had grown into a thriving colony buzzed with activity. Former prisoners from dozens of species lived and worked together, building something entirely new, not human civilization or alien civilization, but something that belonged to everyone. Drakor approached from across the garden. His wings had been surgically repaired by human doctors working with alien engineers. He could fly again, though not as well as in his youth. More importantly, his eyes no longer carried the hollow look of a broken warrior. "The council meeting is about to begin," Drakor told Hyun-woo. "They are waiting for your report on the latest rescue operations." Hyun-woo nodded. As Director of Refugee Affairs for the Free Worlds Alliance, he coordinated the care and integration of thousands of rescued beings. It was challenging work, but seeing former prisoners learning to laugh again made every difficult day worthwhile. They walked together toward the council building. Along the way, they passed markets where human traders worked alongside alien craftsmen. Schools where children from a dozen species learned together, and medical centers where former enemies collaborated to heal the psychological wounds of torture survivors. Sometimes I can hardly believe this is real, Nabi said, skipping along beside them. 5 years ago, I thought I was the last luminary in the universe. Now I have 17 cousins from other rescued colonies. You are not cousins by blood, Drakor pointed out gently. Blood does not make family. Choice makes family. You taught me that, Uncle Drakor. The council building was packed with representatives from over 40 different species. What had started as a human rebellion had grown into the largest political movement in galactic history. The Free Worlds Alliance now controlled nearly half the galaxy's inhabited systems. Admiral Lee Jae-sung, now Supreme Commander of Alliance forces, was giving a military briefing when they arrived. The siege of Earth was broken 3 months ago, he reported. Consortium forces have retreated to their core systems. More importantly, 12 more species have formally joined the Alliance this quarter. What about the Consortium's counter-propaganda? Asked Ambassador Throck of the Altarian Republic. Less effective each month. Every species that joins us brings more evidence of Consortium crimes. Their narrative that we are terrorists becomes harder to maintain when we keep liberating their victims. How many facilities have been shut down? This from Dr. Park So-young, now Director of Medical Services for Rescued Populations. Over 300 confirmed. We estimate we have freed nearly 2 million prisoners of various species, but intelligence suggests at least that many are still in captivity. Hyunwoo stood to give his report. Of the freed prisoners, about 60% have been successfully integrated into Alliance communities. 20% are still receiving intensive medical and psychological care. The remaining 20% have chosen to form separate colonies with others of their own species. What about the children born in captivity? Asked Captain Kim Soo-jin, who now commanded a fleet of hospital ships. That is our greatest success story. Children adapt faster than adults. Most have formed strong bonds with their adoptive families, regardless of species differences. They are growing up truly free. And our biggest challenges? Hyunwoo hesitated. Some rescued adults cannot adjust to freedom. After decades of captivity, they do not know how to make choices or form relationships. We have several facilities dedicated to long-term care for those who may never fully recover. The meeting continued for hours, covering everything from military strategy to resource allocation. But underlying every discussion was a simple truth. They were winning. Not through superior firepower or advanced technology. The consortium still had advantages in both areas. They were winning because they had changed the fundamental assumptions of galactic civilization. For the first time in centuries, being right mattered more than being strong. After the meeting, Hyunwoo walked with Drakor and Nabi to the memorial garden at the center of New Luminar. Thousands of crystal monuments bore the names of species that had been lost to consortium harvesting programs. Each monument glowed with soft light, powered by descendants of survivors who chose to honor their ancestors' memory. Do you think we will ever truly defeat the consortium? Nabi asked as they stood before the Luminari Memorial. We already have, Drakor replied. Not militarily, but morally. They can no longer operate in secret. Every species in the galaxy now knows what they really are. But they still control dozens of systems, Nabi pointed out. For now. But look around you. 5 years ago, none of this existed. Former enemies working together. Children who should have died in captivity, learning to dream of better futures. Species that thought they were alone, discovering they are part of something larger. Hyunwoo nodded. The consortium built their power on isolation and despair. We built our alliance on hope and connection. In the long run, hope is stronger than fear. As evening fell over New Luminar, the three friends watched the daily light ceremony. Hundreds of Luminari descendants and their adopted families gathered in the central plaza. Together, they created patterns of living light that told the story of their people's journey from darkness to freedom. Tonight's story was special. It showed the arrival of two desperate refugees at a small human station, the choice of one man to offer sanctuary, and the chain of events that followed. It showed how small acts of kindness could grow into great movements for justice. Uncle Hyunwoo, Nabi said as the light story reached its climax. Do you ever regret the choice you made that first night? Your people paid a heavy price for helping us. Hyunwoo thought about Earth under siege, about human colonies evacuated under fire, about the thousands of human soldiers who had died fighting for strangers they would never meet. No, he said finally. We paid a price for doing what was right, but we would have paid a different price for doing what was wrong. We would have paid with our souls. And now we have something worth more than safety or comfort. We have proof that the universe can be better than it was. Above them, ships from dozens of species moved between the stars, not conquering or harvesting, but exploring and trading and learning from each other. In the deep space between systems, consortium forces still plotted and schemed, but their power grew weaker every day. On the planet below, a small alien child who should have died in a cage painted dreams of crystal forests where all beings were welcome. A warrior who had lost. Everything discovered that some things were worth losing everything to protect. And a human diplomat who chose mercy over protocol learned that sometimes the smallest decisions change the entire universe. As Hyunwoo walked home through streets filled with the laughter of impossible families, he thought about a message that, now broadcast across the galaxy in 1,000 languages. It was the same message that had started everything, but now it carried the weight of proven truth. Sanctuary granted. You are not alone. We choose to be better. In the darkness between stars, other refugees drifted in failing ships, carrying stories of suffering that seemed too great to bear. But now they had something their parents never had: hope. Somewhere in the galaxy, there were people who would risk everything to help strangers, simply because it was right. The dawn was breaking across the galaxy, one rescued soul at a time. And in that light, everyone could see that the universe was finally becoming what it should have been all along. A place where being different was not dangerous, where being weak did not mean being expendable, and where mercy